Hello, and welcome to the Functional Nurse Academy podcast. This is your host, Melissa Schreibfetter, owner and founder of the Functional Nurse Academy. I am so excited to be joined today by Kimberly Overton, who is the founder of Nurse Freedom Network and Remnant Healthcare, and she is one of the OG graduates of the Functional Nurse Academy. She actually trained with us in our very first cohort. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa. I appreciate it. Always good to be with you.
Yes, anytime. Yeah, I feel like it's been kind of a while since we've done a show together. And I know that
Yes.
you have just been doing so many things. Oh my goodness. And I know last time we talked, you said that you had 20 nurses working under you at Remnant?
Yeah, I think we're up to about 22, and we've got a few more that are coming on board. We've actually, I just recently have done a couple of media appearances that to larger audiences, which we are very blessed for. As you know, we've been out here in this fight for the same amount of time. From the very early days of Nurse Freedom Network, you were right there at my side, doing everything with NFN. And so you know how long it's been that we've been out here trying to get the message out. And I had some clips of mine on social media that had gone viral from several years ago that finally caught some attention. And so we've had a lot more nurses that are looking to sign up and join the growing movement. Yeah, we're
Yes,
excited.
that's amazing. And so, okay, so for our listeners that may be kind of newish, so Kimberly and I met back in the insanity of COVID because we were just, both of us, we were not having it. And we were screaming from the rooftops about what was going on with the protocols and the masking. And when we got into the vaccine, so that's actually how we met. We actually met at a freedom oriented event that was kind of pushing back against the COVID narrative. And it's been really a beautiful thing that we've become such good friends. And there's so many different things that we've been able to be involved with together because, I branched out and started doing functional medicine training for the nurses. And then you branched out and then you're actually helping put the nurses to work. So, and again, I feel like we didn't want to be on the side that is aware of all the bad things going on and be those individuals that are just talking about how bad it is and then not actually
Right.
acting and doing things. So I really, really love that God has really used our frustration to create good things. And I have many nurses in the Functional Nurse Academy community that do graduate from FNA and join Remnant. And then I hear from nurses in our community all of the time that are always asking me about Remnant. So I was like, well, I just need to have you back on the show
Yeah.
again. So could you tell our listeners what exactly is Remnant and what are you all doing through your organization?
Yeah, so Remnant Healthcare, as you know, Nurse Freedom Network started as a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. We started that to advocate against the vaccine mandates that were in the medical tyranny we were facing back in 2021. But beyond that, I knew that my larger vision was to be able to create opportunities for nurses to break away from a broken and oppressive sick care system. We know that this system does nothing to keep anyone well. But we wanted to have that opportunity to provide true patient-centered care and to also give opportunity for these nurses who were, like myself, very allopathically trained. Was not anti-vax coming into the fight. I always say that, but I'm sure as hell leaving that way now that I've done the appropriate research. But so many of these nurses, they were trained very allopathically. They did not have an understanding that everything that we were told was a lie. It was a lie. There is definitely a better way. It's not just about managing symptoms. So when I made the decision to found Remnant Healthcare, which is a 508c1a private membership association. So that is our constitutionally guaranteed right to private contract that takes us completely outside of the mainstream system. And the reason we set it up that way is, if you remember back in 2020, 2021, people like us, nurses like us, we were under constant threat of having our license removed, and we were going to get reported to the nursing board. And we assumed that eventually they were likely going to come after our licenses. So we set it up as a private membership association where licensure would not be of consequence, because people would join the PMA with that understanding that we have the knowledge that they need, that we have the education, and that we can help advise and educate them and guide them on their journey to better health. Um, and luckily, we have not. Everybody is licensed still. We all are in good standing there, so that did not end up being an issue. But it's been amazing, as you said in the opening. We've got about 22 nurses now, and we continue to grow. We have nurses across multiple states. And we are offering a variety of different services. We offer professional advocacy services, as we saw in 2020, 2021, through the COVID isolation and all of that. The value of having an advocate, I mean, it can't be overstated, that the value of having an educated nurse who understands the complexities of this system and knows how to fight back and knows how to speak the language of the system is so valuable to a patient. So we do offer the professional advocacy services, but we also have concierge wellness services, nursing services, where we are having our nurses go through your program, Functional Nurse Academy. They're being trained in functional medicine, more holistic modalities. We have educational opportunities for homeopathy as well, and IV hydration solutions. So we have all of these educational opportunities and entrepreneurial opportunities, because we are a revenue sharing model. So our nurses will come in and we do a 60-40 revenue split, 60% to the practitioner and 40% comes back to the PMA, to keep us afloat, really. I mean, that's how we did not have any funding to get started. I was very, very intentional about that. I did not want to accept any funding. We know that once we do that, there's a lot of strings that come along with those dollars. So we do the 60-40 revenue split, and we're staying busy. And we're actually making a difference, because we're getting people well. And as you know, prior to starting a Functional Nurse Academy, you had your own private practice, and you understand, when you start getting people well, they start telling their friends and their neighbors, and word gets around. So um, that's been the most fulfilling part for me, is just watching people. We're not just managing their symptoms, we're actually helping them achieve this higher level of optimal health, which has been fantastic.
And it's really the reason why we became nurses, because we became nurses because we have a heart for people. We want to help people heal. And, I remember that I used to believe that lie. Like, I was okay, I'm embarrassed to tell you guys this, but I'm just going to tell you, I was so indoctrinated. And this was a little less than 10 years ago. When I had my first child, all of the close family members that would be holding my baby, I had a little list for them of all of the vaccinations that they needed to have to protect my baby, because I
Yeah.
really believed this stuff. And that's why I always think that we need to give grace to each other, because just like
Yes.
Kimberly, like you and I, we were once deceived. There may be other individuals in healthcare that they may really think that they're doing the right thing, but they're deceived. But then we also have to understand, there are some things that are so ridiculous that we also have to really be concerned about judgment and discernment. And an example of that is thinking it is okay to give an infant an experimental COVID vaccination. And
Right.
again, like, I know we both were deceived, but I am still seeing that there are some healthcare providers that still to this day are not figuring that out. And I do think that we need to have grace for those individuals. But we really, like, if you are a person that prays, people that are still believing all of these things. And no matter what happens, they keep digging their heels in. We need to pray for those people. But anyway, I did want to ask you about the. Because I just think it's so great, all of the services that can be offered. And I wanted to touch on the advocacy part. So,
Mm.
a little story real quick. I was hosted on a large platform one time, and they were trying to basically ask me a question in a way to where it was phrased like they wanted to get me to say to avoid the hospital at all cost, which I will not say
Mhm.
because if you lose an airway, if you have a stroke, like
Yes,
there are some
Sam, there are times when we need to go to the hospital. That's why the importance of
absolutely.
an advocacy, it
Uh-huh.
can't
And
be overstated.
I gave Remnant a shout out because I was like,
Thank you.
sometimes hospital care is necessary, but here is a service that is providing advocacy services. And I would love
Yes.
to hear from you. Do you have like a success story of that you'd like to share?
Oh, we have several. I mean, we have several success stories, but we've been involved in some medical kidnapping cases where I'm sure many of our listeners, because we've covered it, I think, extensively. I know on my show, a little Autumn Shawl, that was a little 4-year-old girl out in Palo Alto, California, Lucille Packard. Um, had medically kidnapped this child. They contacted CPS on the parents, and it was just one medical intervention after another that was putting this baby into renal failure. And, all that the mother had done was simply ask about using a gentler diuretic. And for that, they ended up calling CPS and all of these things. So we were able to come in, advocate. We got that baby home. Thank God. We were able to assist with legal resources to assist the parents with this journey that they were on, battling CPS and all of that. So that was one of our more high profile cases. That was back in, gosh, I want to say 2024. It's been a couple of years ago now. But we've had multiple cases like this where we've had to intervene. And we had one with a child, I think he was 8 years old, with cancer. And the mother was wanting a second opinion. She just did not want to go with the standard of care, which, as we know, is chemo, radiation, and surgery. And she just wanted a second opinion before they made any decisions about treatment. And they actually filed a restraining order so that this mother could not even be in the hospital with her child who was going through this cancer diagnosis. So we stepped in on that case as well. And unfortunately, we get contacted about cases like this all the time. They're not as rare as you might think. That's why I tell people, yes, sometimes hospitals are necessary, but please stop using the emergency room for like a sore throat or things that are not of urgent nature, because these are the types of situations you could find yourself in very, very easily, particularly if you're a parent who does not vaccinate. That puts a huge target on your back. So I think it's really important that we stop using the emergency room as an urgent care and things like that. I mean, use it as it's intended for, and make sure you have an advocate in place when you do so.
Yes. And also having a good healthcare provider or practitioner that is working with you to to work on your gut microbiome, your immune system. That way you have so much more resiliency that you're less likely
Yes.
to have to
Mm.
require these higher levels of medical care. But
Right.
I did want to ask you, so I know that in our country, healthcare professionals really have so many of them have just become radicalized in a way. And I know that this is something that occurs in some states where CPS may be called if a new mom who just had her baby refuses a hepatitis B vaccine.
Yeah.
And so there have been cases where infants have been removed from their parents for things like that. And in the cases when Remnant is involved in a medical kidnapping case and you guys are stepping in, and when you have had success in these cases, what exactly are the nurses doing, or what are you able to do to help in those situations?
Well, really, it's just even the idea that they've hired an outside professional advocacy services changes the trajectory of the conversation, and usually really, really quickly. Just the fact that they have an advocate on board, they start changing their language. They start really paying attention. For example, like been successful in hospital transfers. You know how they don't like to transfer patients, for any reason whatsoever, because of course they want all the money, right? But if you need a higher level of care or you just want to go to a different hospital, we see them pushing back on that a lot. And we've had great success in getting those transfers completed, um, and just as well as getting patients out of that hospital when they don't need to be there. I mean, just me, this is a personal story of, I am also a hospice nurse. This was not through Remnant, but I had a patient that was a hospice patient, went into the emergency room. She's comfort measures. The family panicked and called 911, sent her to the ER. I get there. She's like, I want to go home. I said, okay, well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to send you home. Before she gets out the door, we're just going to do a CT scan and make sure there's not a blood clot or this, that. They were trying to do all of these unnecessary tests. This woman is at end of life. She was actually at the beginning to transition. She was in the active dying phase, and they were wanting to do all of these unnecessary tests. So as soon as I stepped in and started advocating, that made all the difference. But had I not been there, she would have had to go through all of these, unnecessary interventions, and, versus having a peaceful passing at home like she wanted. So it's just so important that we can continue to have those advocates there and representing these families. And it's very difficult to advocate, even if you're a nurse and you're educated and you're aware and you know how to navigate the system. It is very difficult to do so when it's your family member or it's yourself.
My mom, she's doing great now, but a few months ago, she had to be hospitalized. And and again, I was kinda like, "Okay, like, we are going to be there bedside," 'cause I just after what has happened with
Yeah.
COVID, I just and again, like, she had wonderful nurses, but this system is so dysfunctional, I just don't trust them. With my own family
Yes.
members, like, I am not comfortable with them being in the hospital without myself or another family member being at that bedside to have that external advocate, and I love that you're offering these advocacy services because if this is like a long-term hospitalization, I mean, people have kids and they have work, and what's going to happen if it's more than like a 3 or 4 day hospitalization. But with my mom, the hospital seemed to just not understand that in order for the body to heal, the body needs to get some sleep, And again,
Right.
we as nurses to cluster care. She was so just exhausted. She was so
Yeah.
exhausted, and it was delaying her healing because they would not cluster her care at night,
No.
and then to help her sleep. I was surprised that they actually gave her melatonin and not like a low dose antipsychotic because we know that
Mhm.
they like to use low dose antipsychotics for
They
sleep.
do.
I was shocked that they brought in melatonin, but they gave her the lowest possible therapeutic dose
Yeah.
at 2 milligrams, which is a little baby dose. And then right after she fell asleep, they went in there and woke her up,
Of course.
and then
I love when
after
they wake you up and they say, "Do you have any pain anywhere? Like, are you uncomfortable?" Well, if you're sleeping, you never wake a sleep. It's just like waking a sleeping baby. You don't do it. You don't do it.
and there are, some situations where, you may need to check vitals or certain
Yeah.
situations, but there
If
are
they're
some
on like
things that
neuro checks or something, because
yeah.
they're a stroke risk or something like that. Okay. But, I've seen it too many times where I'm like, why are you doing this? This patient is perfectly stable and you're waking them up to ask them the simple question if they're in pain. If they're sleeping, they're not in pain, they're comfortable, leave them alone.
Yes, yes. But anyway, so when she got out of the hospital and was able to sleep, guess what happened? She got better. Like, she
Yes.
progressed so much more quickly, but there's so many things that and again, I was like jumping for joy learning that they're actually talking about feeding sick hospital patients real food and not like the Coke and the Jello and
I know.
worst junk that you can find. But anyway, like the hospital system, like they don't really honor things like sleep or nutrition, and the environments are just
Mhm.
terrible. I mean, I cannot
There's
think of
nothing
a worse.
conducive to healing in a hospital, nothing.
It's stupid. So, but anyway, so I would like to also hear about the wellness and functional medicine services that you guys are offering.
Yeah, so we do consultations. We do initial consultations for functional medicine where they're really digging in. They do a lab review, they do a review of their medical history, and then they start putting a plan of care together for them. Everything's individualized. There is no one size fits all. Everything is individualized to that particular patient. They are looking over their medical history. What medications are they on? What is their environment like? All of these things, and looking at the whole person, not just a quick what surgeries have you had, or what diagnoses do you have. We're looking into everything, and including the environment. What kind of laundry detergent do you use? What type of toxic chemicals? What is your toxic burden that could be causing some of the symptoms that you're having? And we're getting to the root cause, and we're eradicating that. And that is by far, I think the number one thing that people say when they come to us is that they feel like they were heard for the first time. They feel like somebody was actually listening to them, because we know that that doesn't happen. When you go to your doctor's appointment, you might get 7 minutes with your provider. You're lucky if they know your name. Never mind your medical history, and you're usually leaving that appointment with a prescription for a medication that's probably going to cause you 10 more problems, and no real answers as to what's going on, what's causing your symptoms. All we're doing is suppressing and masking them with these medications, and we're not doing anything to achieve true healing and wellness. So I think that that is by far the most fulfilling part for these nurses, is that they get to start seeing people get well and what that feels like.
Yeah, and I remember when I was an indoctrinated, ignorant nurse in the system and just
Mhm.
believing that
We
all of
all
these
were.
chronic diseases, oh, they're just progressive. They just get worse over time. And I really believe that. But then when you
Mhm.
step out on your own and you actually help people get well, it is just the most fulfilling thing ever. And I
It is.
still regularly, a couple of years later, will get texts from clients I've worked with saying that, like, they didn't get better until they worked with me, you know? And then
Mhm.
I too have had that experience with Lyme disease, like not getting better until I found somebody that helped me get that diagnosis. And it really is life changing. And I remember I was creating one of my deep dives, and it was on migraines. And whenever I create this material, I'm always looking at the mainstream associations, the ones that will influence the guidance. And I see the same thing every single time. We have these large associations funded by pharmaceutical companies, and then they come up with the guidelines that just happen to be the solution is always just long, lifelong pharmaceuticals. But for something like migraines, which I actually used to be a migraine sufferer, and I don't
Right,
have
and me
any
too.
migraines anymore because I no longer live in a home with toxic mold. It literally was mycotoxins causing my migraines. But
Yes.
anyway, if you go to the association that is influencing the guidelines, they say for migraine headaches, there is no cure. And
Mm.
these are the medications that we recommend for migraines, but then sometimes the medications can make the migraines worse. And I see I just see that same thing over and over. And I think that when we're, training healthcare professionals and also when we're, I think the healthcare professionals that we're training, they need to know what the mainstream medical associations are saying, because we know those run of the mill providers, they're not thinking for themselves. So
No,
they
they're
and
automatons. They don't do any independent research. We know
yeah.
that as long as we've been in this system,
Mhm.
that they're just taking the protocols from the NIH or the CDC or the
Mhm.
FDA, and they're running with that and passing it along to their patients. There's no real knowledge there. And if they didn't have the benefit of a protocol to go by, like what medication do I need to give for this group of symptoms, they wouldn't know their ass from their elbow. And I hate to say it like that, but it's true.
Well, and again, like what they are doing is they are just reading these guidelines, which we know are corrupt. Like it's not okay for a pharmaceutical company to influence the standard of care guidelines in America, but
Yes.
it happens. But they just read those guidelines to the patient, and they just think that that's like the light, the truth, and the way. So I think it's good when we're on the functional side to know what is being recommended. That way we can properly educate and then educate about other options because, again, there's so many natural healing modalities that are
Mhm.
very low risk that can really help to bring the body back into homeostasis. And do you have a success story of a wellness consultation that you
Mhm.
guys worked with?
Yeah, I just saw a post the other day that somebody that's working with our practitioner Grace. So I know you've probably met Grace, who's
Well,
fantastic.
I hear wonderful things like from like multiple people. Like
Yes,
people were telling me they're like Grace is so smart because I know that I think that
brilliant.
other nurses are working with other nurses in the program because we get each other,
Yeah. 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 Grace is brilliant. And she's been working with this gentleman, and he has been suffering from GI issues for years, like where he couldn't eat. He had all of these bloating issues. He could not eat, and just GI upset and all of these things. And he's been working with Grace for quite a while now. And it's been less than a year. And he's been dealing with this for, I believe, 7 or 8 years now. And everybody told him that there was nothing that they could do. He was just, this is it. You could take these, pills and they might help, but they didn't really do anything for him. He's been working for Grace, and she has reversed this for him in less than a year. So it's just been several months, and he's been singing her praises and just so happy with the care that he's got at Remnant. And again, what's really sad is that, these patients, they have all the health insurance and all of these things, and then they have to unfortunately go and pay more money for additional services because insurance, as you know, does not cover the testing that you need to have done to look deeper at these issues. It doesn't pay for naturopaths. It doesn't pay for functional medicine practitioners. So it's unfortunate that people have to kind of come out of pocket a little bit. We do keep our rates very, very affordable. We're certainly probably lower than many, if not all, functional medicine practices out there, and we do that specifically because we want this care to be accessible to everyone. We really feel that it should, health and wellness should be for everyone. It truly should. We want to value the time and the knowledge and expertise of our nurses, but we also want to make sure that people are getting appropriate care that they need. So, yeah, but we've had story after story just like his, where, they had no answers for years in the mainstream system, and they've worked with our practitioners for a few months, and they're already seeing great success and great improvements.
That's such good news, and I'm also hearing stories from my other students. So I'm gonna do give a shout out to another student I have. She sent me a
Mhm.
success story. Her name is Coral Worsham with Redeeming Roots Wellness. And she had an individual who was having severe neurological issues, and this man felt like he was dying, was not sleeping, was not able to work. The top neurologist in his area told him that there was nothing they could do for him. And working with her, 90, I think she said 80 to 90% improvement in his symptoms in a matter of months. And the neurologist was actually interested in calling her, but this individual had, I believe it was biotoxin exposure, which can be from mold. And again, we have
Yeah.
people with these mystery illness and living, and you and I live in Tennessee. Tennessee is a
Mhm.
very, very moldy state. And then we know
Very
50%
moldy.
of buildings in the US have a legitimate mold issue. And it's kind of like someone has these mystery symptoms. Why are we not asking what is going on in their home environment? And I'm
Exactly.
curious, that case that Grace worked with, do you remember what I mean, and again, it's usually not just one thing, it's usually
Mhm.
multifactorial, but do you
Yeah.
remember what was there like a primary issue he was dealing with? Was it like an underlying infection or something?
I'm not sure. I'd have to dig into that case, and I don't know exactly the specifics of his primary illness, but I know that he's feeling better. 7 years later, only took him 7 years and a few months of grace, but he's doing so much better. I'll
Oh,
I'll
I'll
dig
just
in now, and I'll let you know. Maybe you can do an update on that.
yeah, 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 I need to reach out to her 'cause I'd love to have her on too and
Oh,
talk
she's
more.
she's brilliant. Let me tell you, she is absolutely brilliant. She's our clinical director at Remnant. She's been with us since the very beginning. She was in our
Mhm.
first cohort of nurses that we had, and she's been with us ever since. And she's just absolutely amazing. Um, I can't speak highly enough about Grace and what she's been able to do for our clients. And then for a while, I was like, I felt bad because I just kept piling more more clients on Grace. But we've got so many wonderful nurses now who have been trained by Grace that we're just kind of being able to branch out and take some of that load off of her, because all of our practitioners are fantastic. And not only are they knowledgeable after they come through your course, they have all of those incredible resources, the practitioner toolkit that you have, which is just invaluable. But they also have each other. That's what's so incredible is they have an entire team. They are very active in a group chat. They run cases by one another. They do case studies together. So they have each other to really rely on. And all together, we probably have over 200 years of experience on our team, which is incredible.
Well, that's amazing. And again,
Mhm.
no one is going to know everything. And I think it's so important
Exactly.
to have community features and, being able to bump ideas off of each other, bounce
Mhm.
ideas off of each other, and also make referrals and things like that are just so important. And we are about halfway through the show. So before we take a break, I do want to remind our listeners, if you are a fed up nurse and you are listening to this, I can absolutely train you. So, a Functional Nurse Academy is the leading and the most comprehensive functional nurse training program on the market. Our graduates receive 90 nursing CEs in addition to business mentorship and resources. So be sure to check that out at functionalnurseacademy.com. You can also register for my next live informational webinar, and I will drop that link in the show notes. This show is also syndicated on America Out Loud Talk Radio on the Nurses Report radio show and podcast. So you can also find me there on any major app. Hello and welcome back. This is Melissa Schreidvetter. And today I am joined by my friend Kimberly Overton, founder of Remnant Healthcare and founder of Nurse Freedom Network, as well as one of my fellow show hosts at the Nurses Report. Welcome back, Kimberly.
Thank you again for having me. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, I feel like every time that we do a show together, we like just start talking and then it seems like it was 15 minutes. Like it's like the easiest shows I do is when I have Kimberly on.
Right. Oh, because we can just talk. I mean, we can talk forever about if we start from the beginning of everything we went through and then, all of the amazing things that have come out of this. And what I really love is that, we could be still sitting here talking about the problem from the COVID era. And we can sit here and be pissed off, and not look to any solutions. But as nurses, we are very solution oriented, right? So we are finding solutions to the gaps in this system, and we're creating these opportunities. So I think that's what really sets us apart with what we're doing. And I think more people need to do that. More people need to start focusing and looking ahead to, okay, we know what the problem is. Now, how do we fix it?
And I see a barrier that so many nurses struggle with is the imposter syndrome. It's that
Yes.
self doubt that, and everyone deals with
We've all
this.
been there.
I absolutely think it is just like Satan getting in your ear, but it's that
Mhm.
self-doubt that like, "Oh, no, you can't do this," or "People aren't gonna sign up. What are they gonna think about you?" Or, or the one that's, "Oh, you're just a nurse." But
Yes.
there is so much that we can do, guys. And again, like, we can it's possible to get the body to heal without a prescription pad.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things we can do with like nutrition and lifestyle. And I wanted to ask if you could speak to like, do you have any advice for nurses dealing with imposter syndrome? Because I know that with your stance on vaccines and COVID, I
Yeah.
am sure that you have had your fair share of trolls and pushback.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you deal with that side of it? And like, what do you have any advice for any nurses listening?
Yeah, I do. I think we've all been there with the imposter syndrome. I know I have as well. That feeling like, who do you think you are to come out here and say any of these things, or you're just a nurse, or, any of that. And you're right. The devil is a liar. I will say that you need to pray over it and understand that when you are speaking a truth and you're standing in righteous truth, that that's all you need. That's all you need. That's the only armor that you need moving forward, just knowing that you are standing in a righteous truth. As far as the trolls, the easiest way that I have found to deal with them, because I deal with them all the time and have for many years, I offer them a conversation. I offer them to come on my show. I said, "Hey, I understand that you don't agree with me," and I'm very civil with them. I don't argue with them back and forth. I refuse to argue back and forth in a comment section online. I'm like, if you want to have a civil discussion, if I'm wrong, then please educate me. I'm not right about everything. If you can show me a different perspective, I'm open to hearing your side, and maybe we can find some common ground. I have yet to have one single person take me up on that offer to just have a conversation. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, and I notice that too is it tends to be high emotion, low information, and they're very
Yes.
quick to resort to things like name calling
Mhm.
than to actually engage in civil conversation. But again, the way that I look at it, as long as I know that I am doing the right thing and I am
Mhm.
doing my best to be a good follower of Jesus when at the end of the day, when it's just me and God, like even if people don't like me or people said unkind things or whatever, I do not care. I do not care as long as I am right with God. And then also just
Exactly.
as a Christian, when you read the Bible, when you are doing a good job and you are following Christ, there will be people that do not like you because of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I recently went through some things where people were just saying some unkind things because I share about my faith and I also support and provide, our organization provides medical funding to those suffering from COVID vaccine injuries.
Oh,
And some
wonderful.
people find it detestable to talk
Mhm.
about Jesus. And then just as detestable to, help people with medical funding for COVID vaccine injuries.
Yeah,
So again,
imagine that.
yeah, like that's unusual. But again, like you just have to like walk through that fear and just don't care about what people say or
Mhm.
think about you. I mean, I am blessed that the older I get, like the less I care what
That's so
people
true. That's so true.
Mhm.
The older we get, we really don't care anymore. And I think we've been in here a long time. We've been dealing with this a long time. And like I said, when you just be kind. I'm still kind to these people that don't agree with me, and some of them are just vicious. I think I really do have to get better about maybe just blocking and moving on rather than trying to engage. But I won't and I tell them all the time, I'm not going back and forth with you in this comment section. I had one recently that she said, "Well, I just find it really interesting that you won't answer my questions right here where everyone can see them." I said, "Ma'am, I just offered you actually, sorry, a global platform on the America Out Loud Talk Radio Network." I said, "And you can share it anywhere you'd like, including right here in this comment section, so anybody can hear it." But I want to have a back and forth conversation where I'm not saying something and then you're going to chat GPT or whatever you're doing to, come up with your argument back. Either you have knowledge, and I say this all the time, especially with the pro-vaxxers. Tell me everything that you know about vaccines, because you know that as nurses, the only education that we receive is safe, effective, and necessary. And here's the schedule. So I always ask them, well, tell me everything that you know about them. They can't have the conversation.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually very sad. And again,
It is.
there's more people that need our prayers, but I'm glad that like you have been standing firm and the truth and just like walking through this because I do think that it is a barrier for a lot of individuals because it can be scary to go against
Yeah.
mainstream narratives and when you do things like this there will be people that are unhappy with you but that just happens in history that when people stand up and do the right
Mhm.
thing many times the right thing is not popular and if you lose friends over it they may not have been good friends to begin with, and
Right.
you'll have opportunities to make other friends.
Oh, you'll
So
find your tribe for sure. But just to touch on that really quickly, I remember back in when I first started Nurse Freedom Network, the very first time that I ever spoke publicly in front of an audience, many people might be surprised to hear this. I got up on the stage and I started to speak about what was going on with the vaccines. And I saw somebody in the back. They were filming. And I started panicking. And I literally, Melissa, I ran off the stage. I don't know if you were at that event. I don't think you were, but I literally ran off the stage. And then I can remember just how upset that made me. I cried. I was like, I can't believe you were such a coward. You had no you had no strength of character to run off that stage like that. You know that what's going on. You know you have to get the message out there. And I cried for about 20 minutes, got back up on the stage, and I haven't shut my mouth since. So I think many people might be surprised to hear that. I was very frightened in the beginning because I thought, what am I doing? I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose everything. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter because a paycheck, we're never going to be placing paychecks over human lives. Never.
that's the way. Yeah, and I did not know that. And I remember early on,
Yeah.
I spoke at an event with you, and I am not like it is still surprising to me that I am on national radio every week because I am not naturally good at these things. And it was
Mhm.
that first event we went to, I think it was Jeremy Sladen's event, the first one I spoke at.
Yes.
I
Yep.
was so nervous. Like, that was a long drive for me. It was like a
Mhm.
50-minute drive, and I was, like, shaking in my boots the entire way up
Yes.
to, like, north of Nashville, and I prayed the whole way, and I will, like, never forget this because and there were not even that many people there, but I do
No.
not like to, like, get up and talk in front of people. My face will go beet red, I will start
Mhm.
stammering, all these things, but I was like, "I must speak out about this because this is not
Yeah.
right with my soul. I have to do something. I have to say
Yes.
something."
And what's so
And,
funny, I remember that event. You were fantastic. Your
well,
whole presentation was amazing.
I got up there and I felt all of the, like, nervousness and and I started to sweat. I am not a sweaty person, but I started to sweat. And then out of nowhere, it just left me. It left
Yes.
me. And I really believe that that was God and the prayers and that he, like, whatever fear that was I had about public speaking, it just, like, left my body because now I can just get up and talk and, people probably
Mhm.
are sick of listening to me by now. But yeah, I'm so excited about all the great work that you guys are doing. And I know that you also have added in so many different things with Remnant Healthcare. So can you
Mhm.
tell me about some of the, holistic modalities that you guys are using or recommending?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of different things. We're actually just starting to collaborate with an organization called Achieve Vitality, which is in the regenerative healthcare space. So a stem cell research, and this is donated, unvaccinated, and non-mRNA cord blood. So it's ethically sourced. It's Dr. Darcy Brunk is the founder of Achieve Vitality, and he's absolutely wonderful. We have been working with them. I have actually been administering stem cells for them if they have clients in the Nashville area. I've also gone out and done some events with them where I've administered therapies for them as well. So, I mean, there's so much promise in regenerative medicine, whether that be for neurological, autoimmune conditions, joint pain, all of these different things, and just longevity in general, and just having a higher quality of life. Um, so I'm really excited to be working with them, and I think I'll send you a link. Maybe you can include it in your show notes. But they are offering, if you go to their website, which is achievevitality.net/ Kimberly Overton. If you use my link, you will save $300 on the consultation. Or I'm sorry, the consultation is free if you use my link, and then you save $300 on the stem cells themselves. So, which is an amazing deal. And they are, in the grand scheme of things, and with those types of products, they are amazingly affordable for people and accessible, which is fantastic. The consultation, like I said, is free. It doesn't hurt anything to just learn more about it and see if this is something that you could add to your toolbox of ways in which you can achieve better health and more vitality.
And just to reiterate, when you say ethically sourced, and again, that's so important. So the
Mhm.
stem cells from the umbilical cord. That is basically donated from the family after they give birth to a beautiful baby. Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. So yes, yes, much more ethical than the
Mhm.
fetal cell lines that are
Yes,
in
no
babies.
fetal cell, no
Um,
embryonic cells, nothing
mhm.
like that. I could not be involved in anything like that just based on my personal convictions. I would not be able to do anything like that, but this is ethically sourced,
Mhm.
donated from, yes, beautiful, beautiful babies. Um, and that first breath of life that they take when and that's what they're breathing. And what I really love about Dr. Brunk, and I've done many administrations with him personally being there, and they pray over every single one. They pray as they are giving it. They pray over when it's coming into the lab and it's being processed. Every step of the way, it is prayed over, which I think is beautiful. And it's we pray before we do the administration, and it's just it really, to me, that makes all the difference. It truly does.
Yeah. Well, I believe that too because again, I think something we've done wrong is we've gotten away from God, and there's
Yes.
been so much trying to make healthcare secular. But we need to honor our creator, and prayer
Mhm.
is important, and prayer can make an impact. So I think that's amazing. And I have heard, because I've done some reading on stem cell therapies, and I've learned that it can be really helpful for immune system disorders such as autoimmune
Yeah.
conditions or neurological conditions. Can you speak to what conditions stem cell therapies can help with?
Mhm. Yeah, we've seen it given for, yes, autoimmune conditions. So autoimmune encephalitis, Lyme disease, RA, different things like that. Cardiovascular circulation issues. It's used for neurological dementia. And did I say autism? I may have behavioral conditions. We're seeing so many great results actually administered to the a child, an autistic child, and the parents have already said that they have seen improvement, and that was only just a couple of months ago. So, yeah,
That's so oh, that is so wonderful. And
yeah.
do you know how that works? Like, do they understand the mechanism of action there?
Basically, it's sending signals throughout the body. It's like so if you have a condition, it's going to go to where the body needs it most. So if you have, that's why we were kind of talking about this. Like I have a friend of mine who has really bad tinnitus, and the thing about stem cells, it might work, it might give some benefit, but the eyes and the ears, it doesn't typically go to, because you can live blind and you can live deaf, but it's going to go to where it's vitally needed most. So it's like a messaging system, and it goes to like where the inflammation is and where all these issues are in your body. I think there's probably some ways that you can kind of direct it, if you will. I think when we speak life into things, that you may be able to have some influence there, but it's basically going to go where the body needs it the most.
Yes, and the way I've always explained it is stem cells have healing capabilities. And
Hmm.
what I think is just so amazing, because again, I'm a big fan of babies. I've basically just been
We
like,
know you have so many of them now.
2 years, but no, but I'm done. But so again, these beautiful, miraculous babies in the womb actually secrete stem cells to the mother, which I just
Yeah,
absolutely,
beautiful.
well, I love everything about babies, but I mean that is just it's so amazing. And
Mhm.
I also wanted to ask, because again, I know it's been a while since you have graduated from FNA, and your business has just like transformed so much
Mm.
since
Yeah.
you graduated. But I would love just to hear like an update from you about how FNA has helped you with your business.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the business portion of it alone, the resources that you get, practitioner toolkit, and all of these different resources, I mean, is so fundamental to everything that we do at Remnant. Um, I don't typically see clients as much because I'm very busy on the kind of the back end of Remnant. I actually was just saying the other day I want to um, do like a refresh of the course, because I think it's been a couple years. It's been like 3 years, right?
Well, I've completely, since you've graduated and you have access to the most advanced, because I just
Mhm.
keep adding more things. And then my
Okay.
husband is like, put it down. It's fun. And I'm like, no, I want to add more things to it. But yeah, if you go through
Mhm.
it again, it's been like significantly advanced. And then
Oh,
in the
good.
mentorship, I have like over 40 additional deep dive presentations in there. So it's enough to keep you busy.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't typically take on new clients. I did have somebody that wanted to work with me. It was kind of she has a strong foundation, and it was like more of a prevention and wellness type of a thing. So I agreed to do it. But I was like, oh, I should really, refresh on all of my stuff because I want to make sure that I am giving the standard of care, that the high expectations that I expect our nurses and providers to provide our clients, that I'm able to do that as well. But the level of education and confidence that you have, and your program is it's not like you finish the program and that's it. You have ongoing mentorship that you do. I know that there are groups that you can be a part of, and if you're part of Remnant, again, you have the benefit of an entire team behind you that has had maybe you don't have experience with somebody with Lyme disease, but the other practitioners do. So I think that community aspect of it is really what's so amazing. And that first year in business as a nurse trying to start your own practice is very difficult. I think there's always a lack of confidence, like where am I going to get my clients from, or can I even do this? What I love about Remnant, and we kind of call it like training wheels for nurses that are wanting to start their own practice, they have this ability to, we're going to give you the client, we're going to give you all of our resources, and we're going to give you this incredible team that's behind you. And it really helps them to build their confidence. I don't have any of these nurses sign non-compete clauses. They all, if not all of them, most of them have their own practice that they have. And then they also see clients through Remnant. But we don't want to discourage growth. We want to, or impede it. We want to encourage people to have their own practice, but also just benefit from the community that Remnant offers and the resources that we offer them. Because again, the first year starting a practice, when you have to start an LLC or whatever route you're going to go, there's a lot of expense in that. The um, practice management software, all of the marketing materials. We provide all of those things for our nurses. So it really gives them a good feel of, yes, I can do this. And then they typically will start to grow their own practice from the experience and the resources that we give them here at Remnant. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think that that is great that you're not having them sign a non-compete because
Yeah.
again, it is that first year. I always tell my students, I'm like, it is that first year, people don't know what you're doing yet, and you are starting your referrals from scratch. So I think that that is a really great resource if they have their own business, that they have another route that they can work to get clients and gain that experience and to have a PMA to be able to provide those clients for them, I think is
Yes.
huge.
Mhm.
So, we have a couple of minutes left, but I do want to just. I would love for you to tell our listeners where, like, say if they're a nurse and they want to sign up with Remnant, where should they go?
Yeah, so you can go to remnanthealthcare.org. That is our website. You can check out what we do there. If you're interested in getting more information on our onboarding process or interviewing to come on and join the team, you can send an email to info@nursefreedomnetwork.org. We also, of course, we have the incredible bundle that we offer with Functional Nurse Academy. You can visit that on your website, which is functionalnurseacademy.com/remnant, and that you can learn how you can save a little bit of money if you want to go through the program, and then also come and join the Remnant Healthcare team. I can't remember how much, but I know you can save a significant amount of money by doing it that way. If you want to just take the course first and join Remnant later, you can do it either way. But do visit our website. And again, you can email info@nursefreedomnetwork.org. And we're happy to jump on a call with you and answer any questions that you have.
And I will be sure to post all of those links in the show notes as well. So, and also wanted to mention, so we are officially doing the first ever functional nurse cruise conference, which will be next
Yes.
year.
So
And it's
excited.
going to be just for Functional Nurse Academy students and graduates. And Kimberly is one of our confirmed speakers. So it'll be great to have you there. And yeah, I think it's amazing to like, because we share a lot of the same community now. And I
Mhm.
love that, like, yeah, like I love training. The Remnant nurses are always amazing to work with, and they're doing such great
Yes.
work with your organization. That is all the time that we have today. If you want to learn more about the Functional Nurse Academy, please feel free to register for our next live webinar, and you will see that link in the show notes. You can also check out Functional Nurse Academy on our social media platforms or on our website at functionalnurseacademy.com. Until next time, be safe, be well, and God bless.